So, welcome back, everyone. This session is going to be very, very interesting. We are going to focus on circular economy as a business model. And we will have three economy sectors represented: the fast fashion industry, the electrical appliances industry, and the heavy duty industry. And also, in this session, all our speakers are participating remotely, which is good for the environment. And I have next to me Mrs. Patsiopoulos, who is the chairwoman of the HSCC. So, first, we have Anna Velikova. She's a regional communications manager. I hope we will see her in a moment for region Southeast Europe at H&M. Anna has substantial experience in PR and marketing, having worked with different companies and brands in the FMCG and retail sector. She's passionate about both fashion and sustainability, so we will soon find out how she manages to combine the two. Welcome, Ms. Velikova.
It's my pleasure to be with you.
Our second speaker, Carl Edsjö, is Director of Circular Solutions at Electrolux. His role is centered around the efficient use of materials, including use of recycled plastics, development of alternative business models, and other forms of extending and closing the material loops. Before that, he worked on the implementation of the WEEE directive in European Union member states. Welcome, Mr. Edsjö.
Thank you.
And our third speaker is Gustav Kruusval. He is Business Development Manager at SKF, responsible for the global go-to-market strategy and implementation of SKF Recondoil. He has significant experience in business consulting, project and customer management, and customer experience. He has a background in economics, business, and consumer marketing. So, let me not take any more time from you. Let's hear first from Anna Velikova about H&M's vision on circular economy and understand the various circularity business models that have been or are being introduced. And we will also have the opportunity, I think, to hear from Anna about example use cases from Sweden as well as from Greece. So, Anna, the floor is yours.
Absolutely. Give me just a second to share my screen.
It will work eventually.
Yes, there we go. I hope you see it. All right, thanks for this invitation. I'll be talking about fashion and circularity and why this is the way going forward. And as you already mentioned, I will quickly guide you through our vision and our sustainability strategy as H&M brand and a company. Then I will make the link between the fashion industry and circularity. And of course, talk about how we bring the circular solutions to our customers. But let me first start by saying that we as a company being represented on 75 markets worldwide, of course, we feel the responsibility of this huge impact that we make. But of course, we acknowledge that. And that's why we have a very ambitious vision. We want to be leading the change towards a circular and climate positive fashion industry, while at the same time, we're being fair and equal company. And this is translated into our approach or our three main pillars. First one of them is leading the change. And when we talk about leading the change, we focus our efforts on scaling innovation, promoting transparency, engaging partners for industry-wide progress. I will just quickly walk you through what exactly we do or what exactly do we mean in this particular point. For example, when we talk about scaling innovations, we're searching for new materials, for recycling technologies, for business models that promote more and more circularity, and of course, that improve the resource usage and enhance the customer experience, because this is what we need in order to transform the business and the way of doing business in the fashion industry. Promoting transparency is very much linked to how we communicate. We communicate openly and honestly about our business, because we believe that this is very crucial in order to build meaningful relationships with, starting with our colleagues, with our customers, investors, and also other stakeholders. Of course, transparency itself wouldn't tackle all the issues of sustainability or all the circularity challenges, but it actually creates an accountability and comparability, which is pushing us to improve, and we're also encouraging others in the industry to do the same. And of course, we couldn't do the change alone. We need to bring on board other partners and other big players for the fashion industry, and not only in order to make the change and lead this change. Then our efforts are also being very much focused on being 100% fair and equal. We want to be part of a fashion industry that provides fair jobs, equal treatment for everyone. We respect human rights, we promote inclusion, and we're actually champions in diversity throughout our supply chain. And we also invite and we boost others to do the same, because we acknowledge our impact with the direct employees that are directly involved in our business through our operations, but of course also through the factories that we collaborate with and our suppliers throughout the world. And last but not least, we very much focus our efforts on being circular and climate positive. And here, of course, the biggest question is about climate change, because climate change remains one of the greatest challenges of our time. I think we are all aware that its consequences will affect our entire planet. So all of us living on it will be somehow impacted. That's why we need to challenge all industries, including fashion. And for us, this means that we bring new possibilities. We're rising our sustainability ambitions even more. One of the things that we're focusing is to be climate positive, to have a climate positive approach across our value chain, operating within the planetary boundaries, which means that we are committed to transforming our business and changing the way that fashion is produced, consumed, and used. Our new climate strategy reaches actually beyond our value chain. And what we do is actually that we invest in renewable energy, in circularity and other technologies in order to secure our own value chain and to make sure that we use different resources. We also inspire different actions beyond our own value chain through engaging public affairs and collaborating with partners. We also acknowledge that today we're losing biodiversity at a faster pace that it can actually restore itself. That's why we want to make sure that our business has a net positive impact on the biodiversity. And we have certain actions related to that as well. And of course, last but not least, we want to have a circular ecosystem when it comes to our supply chains. And this is very much where we focus our efforts and where our goals are aiming for. And I will, with that, actually make a link with our goals going towards 2030. And not only because we have set ourselves very ambitious goals in order to achieve, because apart from the strategy, of course, we need to achieve progress and certain results. So as you can imagine, our ambitious goals are in the direction of circularity, of climate. They're related to materials and resources. Not only actually, also the goals are implemented in our packaging strategy, also regarding water and so on. I wouldn't go through much into detail through all of this, but I just wanted to show you kind of a snapshot of the important highlights that we are aiming for. And for example, when we are talking about circularity and when we are talking about the climate, I think very important fact that we can highlight here is that from the beginning of this year, as of January 1st, we have taken the decision that we will no longer onboard any new suppliers or supplier factories into our supply chain if they have on-site coal boilers in the factories, because this is part of our longer term aim to phase out coal from our supply chain. Then we have also goals related to reducing the CO2 emissions based on a baseline that we created in 2019. So this is how we monitor our progress. Towards 2030, we also want to make sure we use 100% renewable electricity in our own operations. And we're also raising the bar on our energy sourcing criteria. So we're searching for different opportunities as well. Then when it comes to materials and resources, we are very much focused on sourcing recyclable materials for our products. For example, all polyester used in our products will be 100% recycled by 2025. Then towards 2030, we want to make sure that 100% of our materials are recycled or sustainably sourced. And you can see that already in 2021, we have achieved 80% of that goal. So that's the way going forward. And when it comes to packaging, we have definitely done some improvements because all packaging is designed and produced by H&M Group in a way that it could be reusable and recyclable. And our goal towards 2030 is to make sure that 100% of the packaging is from recycled or other sustainably used material, with a preference, of course, for post-consumer recycled materials. But as I said, let's not deep dive that much in these goals. This is just to show you that we're very ambitious and strict when following up our sustainability strategy. But you would also question, Mark, so how does circularity and the fashion industry are linked together? And what I can say here is that first we need to respond to the question, what is actually a circular economy? By definition, the circular economy should be a system solution framework for global challenges, including the climate change and biodiversity loss. And by design, the circular economy solutions should eliminate the waste and the pollution by circulating products and materials. So this type of economy should be restorative and regenerative by design, and it's usually based on three main principles: designing out waste and pollution, keeping products and materials in use, and regenerating natural systems. But all this requires a systematic shift that builds long-term resilience and generates new business and also economic opportunities. And of course, provides an environmental and social benefits for all of us. In that sense, our vision for a circular fashion industry is that we link the circular economy for the fashion that creates better products and services for our customers, that contributes to a resilient fashion industry and also helps the regeneration of the environment. And it also prioritizes the rights and the equity of everyone involved in the fashion industry, because in this way we will create new opportunities for growth, which opportunities should be equally distributed and diverse and inclusive. And what we want to build is a fashion industry that designs products that could be used more, that could be made again or remade, and that could be made from safe and recycled, renewable inputs. And going further and finding a logical connection to our business, of course, then we need to introduce circularity through certain circular business models. What we need to do basically is to develop new ways of doing our business in order to make sure that these products are used more for a longer period of time. And eventually these materials don't go to waste or don't go out of this circle, or as we call it, close the loop, but they're fully recovered and they're being able to be used again as a resource. And you would ask, what kind of business models do we use? Traditionally, the fashion industry has unfortunately followed a very linear business model, meaning take, make, and then unfortunately waste. So the circular business models basically breaks this chain to keep the garments in use longer and to make sure that they're not wasted once they are basically going out of their lifespan. And here on this graph, you actually can see how we tie together the different stages of the products and how it's being used, consumed, and treated afterwards. For example, we have a circular products approach already from the starting point of the design, the way we pick the raw materials. Then we introduce these specific circular business models within our supply chain, as I mentioned. But the biggest part that we focus on is actually the circular customer journey, where we have three main, I would say, sections. It's the access, the use and care, and the collect and sort part. And when we talk about access, we're trying to bring to our customers a different variety of opportunities to give them the access, for example, to use in a different way garments. Let's say, for example, in some of our countries, we have the opportunity for customers to shop even second-hand garments online through H&M. Or we give them the opportunity to have access to buy and sell pre-owned clothes. We have a concept called rewear. When it comes to the use and care, we have developed a specific category of products which is called take care, which helps the customer to treat their garments in such a way that they last longer. And I mean, there are many examples how we support that. But of course, the important thing is that we give these kind of solutions and opportunities to our customers. And of course, when it comes to the collecting part and sorting part, we're working very much with recycling post-consumer collection, and also working with pre-consumer recycling, because we know that certain processes of the production stages for our garments and the left outs from there could be actually turned into valuable resources further on. And just to continue further, how do we bring these circular solutions to our customers?
Just one interruption. We're running a bit out of time. If you
I
could
know. I have
condense.
one or a minute and a half. I'm going to be very quick.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say here that what is important is to acknowledge that customers are becoming more and more demanding. So actually they require these conscious decisions, and they are actually moving us towards the circular economy. So this is no longer something the business just voluntarily have to do, but it's mandatory. And the good thing about us in H&M is that actually we have been in this journey already for 15 years. We're making our steps towards even further improvements, but we believe also that we have on board our customers. And here I will just very quickly show you 4 examples of what we practically do and how we bring circularity to our customers. We have developed a very special concept which is called Circulator. This is a way to revolutionize the product development process. You can learn more on the link that you see here. We are the first company that introduced garment collecting, and it's the world's biggest initiative for garment collecting and recycling old and unwanted garments. You can see some curious facts. We also offer across different stores in different countries around the world the opportunity of our customers to bring their garments so that they're repaired, remade, or refreshed. And we also reward actually the conscious behavior of our customers through our loyalty program, as long as they bring their conscious shopper, they return garment clothes, or they choose an environmentally smart way for their deliveries. Having that said, I think it's such a wide scope. There are many examples that we can bring, but what I want to finish my presentation with is that really everyone's effort counts and brings us actually closer to finding the solutions, but also only together we can really make it possible. And this is what is really, really important for us to do together in the industry. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Velikova. It has been really enlightening to hear all this, understanding more about all these activities that you're doing in your company on circular economy. And the concept of collaboration came up again because we were discussing about that before. So now let's move on to Mr. Karl Edsjö, who will walk us through Electrolux's vision and case studies on circular economy business models. Please.
So, hello, let me just share the screen. Hope this works.
Yeah, it will. No worries. Yes.
Okay, hi, and thanks for having me here. Glad to be part of this business forum and sharing Electrolux views on circularity. So first, just to make sure that we are all on the same page, what is Electrolux? And it's all about household appliances, and how we describe it in three segments. We have the kitchen segment, so everything from cooking, food preservation to dishwashers and small appliances for the kitchen. We have the laundry, washing machines, tumble dryers, and so on, and also there, also including small appliances like irons and stuff. And finally, the well-being area, which is floor care and air care and water heaters, air conditioners, and similar stuff. And I think that's just to set the scene, and this is the area where we operate in. So that's enough said about Electrolux, I think. But then, before moving on to the next slide, I think it's worth thinking about circularity and what it is. So circular economy or circularity concept has been around for a few years now, maybe almost 10 years. And there are so many definitions of circular economy, but what is it really? And we have spent some time to also identify our definition, because that is what it is. To make it meaningful, each company or actor using circularity needs also to define and clarify what it means for them. But overall, I think the main point is circularity, how I would see it and how we see it is circularity is about maintaining material at the highest possible value as long as possible. And it's a little bit interesting with the term circularity, because it indicates circularity or circling as an important feature. But in reality, the most important aspect of circularity is keeping it alive as long as possible, whether it's a product or something else. That to not waste means that avoiding waste, the easiest way is just to keep things alive longer. That reduces the need for new materials and reduces the amount of waste. That said, we can move on to, this is how we see conceptually circularity for Electrolux. This is adapted from a Dutch professor, Nancy Bokken. And this is circularity in a very neat way. So we have the input side materials we choose, the use phase, use longer. And we have the recovery restore phase, basically making sure that products that cannot be used anymore are collected, and the materials, or sometimes maybe the components, are extracted and they're made into new good use. That is kind of the very easy outline. And now this is what we made it more detailed to clarify our actions. And then it starts to get complex. And so because circularity, to make it concrete and happen, we need to break it down in many small pieces. And this is how it looks for us. So we have the material phase, we have the design we see the design for new materials, overall material choices, packaging materials, part of that. And actually see most of the actions are in the use phase. So that how we support maintenance by supplying spare parts, delivering service. We design for repair. We have new business models coming. We design for durability. And we're experimenting with refurbishment. I wouldn't say that we have come very far on that topic yet, but it is on our roadmap. And finally, on the recovery side, that we design for recycling. We are active in product take back, support it as much as you can, and we use recycled materials. So this is Electrolux circular approach. And then from there, this was the abstract version, and then I would like to share a few case studies. And now it was promised to also share, I have 3 case studies, but within this time slot, it was not possible to fit the plastics and the service subscription. So unfortunately, I cannot share this here, but you're very welcome to reach out after the presentation and discussion, and I will share more details about this if you're interested. So first, we have a RoboVac release, and the 2 ones after that are also vacuum cleaner based, about reuse and recyclability. So my first use case is the Pure i9 service subscription. Pure i9 is a high-end, high-performing robotic vac. It's very high performance and it received very good reviews around the globe. Now this is available as a service subscription in a pilot in Sweden, and it's even more than a pilot today because it's been very successful. We have several thousand subscribers. And how does this work then? So first of all, it's a connected appliance that is kind of in this model. It's a foundation of the model because payment and other things are linked to the connectivity of the appliance, because then we can communicate with it. So it's a service. So you pay per use. It's 1 SEK per square meter cleaned. minimum fee of 79 SEK per month, maximum fee of 259 SEK per month. So after that, basically the cleaning is for free. And having a model like this makes it the entry barrier for such a product, high-end, becomes much lower, and people who would not consider paying up for buying one are more easily convinced about saying that see the benefits of such a product when they can lease it or pay it on subscription. And to be a really more circular concept, we have a few elements like consumables are included. So you can see the little brush showing there in the down. A few more brushes under, they wear out slowly. But thanks to the connectivity, we can measure the use time, and after a certain number of hours, the subscriber automatically gets a little kit by post and can easily replace worn out brushes with new ones, so keeping the robotic vac in good shape. Other benefits, and I think it's important in a circular model, is of course that repairs are included. If it's broken down, you just send it back. You get the, maybe not the new one, but you get the refurbished one or a well-functioning one. And vacs that are returned either because there is a problem or because subscribers have ended their subscription are refurbished and put out again. And already today we can see, though retention is quite high, so turnover of subscribers is low, but of the vacs coming back, we already sent back on the market, so we can see that we have more than one user per vac already. And we know from research that it's very interesting seeing that no users have complained about receiving a used vac, but many even appreciate it because it's kind of proof of evidence. Turns out that many users are aware of the sustainability performance of this solution, so they are happy to receive a used one. That was about the service subscription and business models. Next case is also about the vac, but in the other angle, looking more at the refurbishment potential. And then look at a totally different vacuum cleaner. This is an old-fashioned cordoned bag cleaner, kind of the really old-fashioned style. This project is a pilot where we explored the opportunity to produce a new vacuum cleaner from 100% recycled components and materials. And we did that in cooperation with Stena Recycling, a Swedish recycling company. And we said that what we wanted to do was to look into the opportunity of this. And to make this happen, we decided on one specific model that has been sold in quite large quantities in the Nordics. So we knew for sure that it would come back to the recycling plant, which treats EEE. And we then knew that coming back. So what we asked Stena to do is to pick up 25 of these products, the best looking ones, and take them out from the belt and give them to us. And we tested them to see what came out. And we were actually a bit surprised by the outcomes, because when we were taking these 25 machines, you see them in the picture neatly lined up here, 20 of the machines were in working condition. So 80% of the thrown away vacs were actually working, but they were thrown away. All of the motors were in good working condition. So that might mean some minor electronic problem, making them not useful for the moment, but easily repaired. And the average age was 5, and the average use of the engine was a little bit more than 20%. So it says that no less than 20. So most of the lifetime in the engines were left. This raises some interesting questions. Of course, for the project, this was good news. It means that the refurbishment potential was very good. We had components in a good shape and could make new vacuum cleaners out of it. But why are people throwing away functioning appliances? This is a question we are struggling with now. We're struggling with that we are researching now, try to understand better, and how to make sure that people get the most out of their vacuum cleaner, keeping it for the full life rather than just for a fraction of its lifetime. So that was the first insight. And then we moved on. So we had a good start here. And then we looked at the outcome. And we made, yes, this is a pilot test. We made 3 prototype vacuum cleaners. They were performing like a new one. And they're 100% made of recycled materials and reused components. So some of all the mechanical parts are reused parts. Some of the plastics are new parts made from recycled plastics, and some of the plastic parts are just reused. And you can see some of the tests here. Core binder test, air performance test, sun power, everything worked as it should. That was the infinity test, and that was about making something new out of what has been thrown away. Following up on that, we did later on the second one. This is my last slides, just showing what we moved on from here. We moved to the To Infinity project, where we looked at producing a vacuum cleaner that would be 100% recyclable, so it could be easily recyclable, where the materials could be recycled. We didn't achieve 100%, but though we improved a lot compared with the current situation. Of course, now recyclability is a kind of a subjective measure, it depends on the effort you put in. But with the benchmark together with Stena, we compared with the current recycling systems and so on, and then we can see that basically we achieved 90% with this machine compared to maybe about 70% recyclability for a standard average machine. But not only was this made for improving recyclability, it was also made to be fresh. Learning from this first Infinity project said that why are people not keeping their machines longer? So intention here was to make a machine that was even more attractive and would keep its appeal over a longer period. So we added textiles, a bit of wood, some fake leather and stuff like that to make it look more durable, simply. Now this again is a prototype, but the plan is to ship out a few hundred of these items on the market in the next year. And then we'll see also from the consumer reactions if it works. Will it be more long lasting? Will it be more recyclable? We will see. And by that, I conclude here. That was a few snapshots of our circular activities at Electrolux.
Thank you. That was really an impressive. Thank you, Mr. Edsjö.
Thank you.
I liked a lot the vacuum cleaner as a service. I'd like to try that. Now, yes. Now,
yeah, I hope I can ship one to you sooner.
Yes, thank
Yeah.
you. Now let's move on to our last speaker for this session, Mr. Gustav Kruusval, who will present to us a brand new advanced technology by SKF that is expected to revolutionize the use of industrial oil, creating enormous benefits for the environment and contributing to successfully manage climate change by heavy industries. So the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. I will share my screen here. Hope that's visible now. So great. Yes, exactly. I just wanted to also start with saying that SKF is normally known to most people in the industries. We are producing bearings as our main product. And actually linking it to circular use, we are already remanufacturing bearings to be used for the same purpose again and again in the industrial equipment all over the world. But that was not what I wanted to talk about today. I wanted to talk about another technology that we have added to our portfolio. And it's about looking at the use of industrial oil and the sustainable use of industrial oil. So SKF is constantly looking for technologies that can make the operations at our customers more sustainable and reliable. And a perfect example of that is our new technology, enabling just that, sustainable use and circular use of lubricants in the industrial environment. And we call that Recond Oil. And as our previous speakers already have shown and conveyed, we are in a linear way of using our products today in many cases, which means a take, make and waste, quite high cost kind of culture of using our products. And of course, we want to change that. Conventional way of using lubricants is to extract them and produce them, and then use them in the equipment, and then finally dispose them when they are not up to performance any longer. And this, of course, comes with high costs, not only economically, but definitely from a sustainability point of view. And we want to completely change this and make the lubricant an asset instead of a consumable, and by basically regenerating it so it can be reused for the same purpose over and over again. So just imagine for a moment the consequences if the lifespan of industrial oil were endless. Well, virtually all industrial machines use oil as a lubricant today. And in fact, about 19 million tons of industrial lubricants are consumed globally every year. And the direct cost related to these 90 million tons include things like transporting it, storing it, monitoring it, filtrate the oil, handling it, and dispose it. Imagine if you can get rid of those tons by making the oil circular. Well, the most important effect is, of course, the impact it has on the environment. So we have calculated in our life cycle analysis that for every cubic meter of oil, basically 1 ton of oil, we can save up to 3.8 tons of CO2. And for these 19 million tons of industrial oil consumed every year, that would mean over 70 million tons of CO2 every year that can be saved. But the story doesn't end there. There are many indirect effects coming out of this of using an ultra clean oil at all times. You know that in production, there's a lot of variability that you need to take into account. And the variability in production, due to having an unclean oil in the machines, is a major cause of millions of tons of scrap every single year, just because we cannot produce the quality required by the customer. Imagine getting rid of that too. So how can we then solve this? Well, our solution is Recond Oil to this challenge. And Recond Oil started actually with a customer case at a former assembly company called SAP. And SAP is a manufacturer of precision metals, such as steel wires used for precision products. You can imagine you have it in, for example, a Rolex watch. And in its wire drawing process, they suffered from microscopic particle contamination in the oil that conventional filtration technologies could not remove. So in order to maintain the highest product quality, the company had to replace the oil every 12 weeks. And this generated high oil purchase costs, of course, and disposal costs, and also revenue losses. And you cannot imagine also the environmental cost of this. And they were also locked into a certain sequential production of quality, since only the highest product qualities could be produced in the beginning of the oil change cycle. So with basically a new oil. But by implementing the Recond Oil technology, suddenly they can use the same oil all over again, just because it was continuously cleaned, and suddenly they had an ultra clean oil at all times. All these nano-sized particles that they couldn't capture before were now captured and separated out, and the oil stopped to age. It stopped to degrade. And the result now is that SAP has been using actually the same oil for the last 9 years, and they have avoided over 40 oil changes. And to add up the CO2 savings here, we talk about 450 tons of saved CO2. Again, the story doesn't end there. The big gains have come from the indirect effects on production. They see an 88% scrap reduction and a 25% productivity increase. And the scrap reduction also adds up to the environmental savings. So the question now is, of course, how this links to SKF and SKF's strategy. Well, in our new updated strategy earlier this year, we are looking at a different SKF 2030, where intelligent and clean growth is the way forward. And one clear target that was stated actually already before the strategy review a few years back is that our own manufacturing should be completely carbon neutral by 2030. And that is, of course, something we would like to help our customers with as well. So to achieve an endless lifespan for the industrial oil, or what we call a truly circular use of oil, there are two enablers. This patented green technology that we call DST, double separation technology, and also a new business model called oil as a service. But first, we have to understand why we need to change the oil. Well, the obvious reason is that it's losing its performance due to several factors. At the start of a new oil in the machine, the oil has its performance, which is on the right level. At a certain point, it starts to degrade, and at a certain point, the oil doesn't perform as it should and needs to be changed. And the factors that we're talking about, the most important ones, are the ones that create this oxidation in the oil, which is causing the oil to degrade, to age, basically. But this must be something that conventional filtration techniques can handle, right? No, not really, because as I just explained, the smallest particles, these nanoparticles, they normally slip through conventional filters. And when we look at oil in detail, we see that they constitute of 80% of the surface area in the oil. So when you are using conventional filtration techniques, you get rid of the microparticles, but nanoparticles, the really bad guys, they are creating this oxidation process and start to degrade the oil, so it cannot be used any longer at a certain point. So our response to that, and the new technology that we are suggesting, is the double separation technology, or DST. And this is a combined chemical and mechanical separation technology. And the chemical booster, the chemical part, is the booster that we are adding to the oil, mixing into the oil, and it's attracting all types of contaminants, big and small, and also nano-small. And this booster, they attract the particles, and they start to coalesce into bigger particles, and at a certain point, they become heavier than the oil, and they start to basically sediment, and then they are easily mechanically separated out. And the DST system that we offer works basically as a kidney loop to the customer oil system, and is therefore continuously cleaning the oil. So you keep the oil ultra clean at all times. And by having that ultra clean oil at all times, you can use the same oil for the same purpose over and over again. And as already well understood then, our core in the value proposition is, of course, sustainability. But you don't need to make a choice any longer between being green and also being cost efficient, as the direct and indirect cost savings can be tremendous by applying circular use of oil. This technology is, of course, yet to be proven on a global scale, and therefore we are implementing this first in our own factories to be able to achieve, of course, valuable learnings, learn from our mistakes, but also prove the value in real monetary value. And so far, we've already installed these units in more than 15 factories, and we have a very ambitious rollout program for the future as well. And already now we can see unbelievable results, at least according to our own factory people, not only from a sustainability point of view, that we save a lot of CO2 emissions, but also that we see that the process and the product performance improve a lot. And as told, we of course want to make this technology available to anyone within the industry, and therefore we realized that we need to change the business model and offer it instead as a service, and we call that oil as a service. And by doing that, we are avoiding heavy initial investments for the customer, and also we share the risk and returns from the project with the customer. And as a previous speaker already said, Carl already mentioned, we are basically lowering the entry barrier for the customer to be able to take advantage of this technology. And the aim is, of course, that we never have to pay more for industrial oil ever again. So in summary, basically you no longer need to make a choice between, let's say, doing good while earning less and doing nothing and earning more. Green is the new black. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. That was really, to me, it sounds like a dream come true. I mean, to have oil once and then use it forever, it's really, really impressive technology. Thank you for sharing this. So now we will see again all of our speakers on the screen, because we are going to move on the Q&A session. And let me start by asking Ms. Velikova first, and then everybody will answer. How did your customers react to this new way of doing business? Was it easy for them to accept and adopt? Were there any hurdles, any reactions you would like to share, or required training that you had to give? So please, Anna.
Of course, I actually kind of touched upon this in my presentation, because as I said, currently what we observe is that the customers are becoming more and more demanding. They're more and more informed. So they're already naturally searching for more conscious, sustainable solutions. They want to be exposed to these kind of choices, because they're genuinely acknowledge that they also have impact on the environment, and they want to make sure that, let's say in our case, the garments that they buy don't have a negative impact on the environment, or that they're produced in a sustainable and environmentally friendly way. Or that's why, for example, transparency is so important for us, because customers are genuinely interested how, where, from what was the actual garment produced. So what I can say is that, of course, there is always challenges in taking people on board and whenever introducing change or kind of an innovation. But in general, we see a positive trend in the customer behavior. Of course, being responsible for a whole region consisting of 16 countries, I can tell you that the customer behavior in different countries, of course, is different. But that's why we're so much looking into different insights. We are monitoring this behavior so that we can actually address the needs of our customers in the most relevant way. And we acknowledge also the responsibility of educating and taking on board those people that are still maybe not
Sitting on the fence.
ready yet for this change, but we have the responsibility to take them on board, right?
Correct. Thank you, Anna. What about Electrolux, Carl? What do you see?
We see a lot of different things, and I stick to the things we know, because two of the things I shared was pilots. I go more broadly on circularity. And first, one observation that about consumer perception in general is shifting quite a lot. Well, positively, we've seen that in Europe already since many years. There's been some awareness about the environment, a little bit up and down depending on the other factors in the environment, in the society, but generally quite awareness. But what we see now is very positive, is also big growth in the US. And this is our biggest market, so we have to spend a lot of time trying to push for sustainability topics, but there's been zero response until, let's say, 5 years ago. But suddenly we see big growth and interest. And across all markets, waste generally is a concern. People don't like to think about waste and that things are wasted. Plastic waste, scrap, electronic waste, whatever, that is handled in either that preferably they don't want to waste anything. I mean, they don't, well, of course, people buy new stuff and throw it away, but they don't like the thought of the waste not being managed in a good way. So it's very important for people having this circularity aspect in a trustworthy way. But I also had another dimension, which is more of a dilemma or a paradox, is that about things where we are active and always been is the repairs. And we're refocusing efforts there to become even more repairable, improving our service there. But there is the paradox that we now see a segment of consumers not even considering repair as an option. And that is a bit problematic, of course. We want to offer longer lifetimes, and people are facing a maybe minor failure, just throw the thing away and buy a new one, because they thought it's the natural thing for them. And that is a huge challenge we will need to face. And then again, the other side of that is, I don't know how to solve this, but we need to do it. The point is that people who do care about the products and get them repaired are often more satisfied with the broken product after it's been repaired than before. Because the experience of the product that being repaired and upgraded, it brings some confidence in the product that it can be repaired and so on. So people who do repairs are often satisfied when they get a good service. So that is a tool, but we need to get back the consumers who have given up the idea of repairs, or maybe never noticed it because the young people are seeing things as single-use items. And that is, I think that is an interesting paradox to dig further into.
Very interesting view. Thank you for that. And also, I mean, for me, I was impressed to hear if the US is moving towards that direction. I mean, if the public is changing, that is a big change. And the repair issues, as you mentioned. Thank you, Carl. And what about you, Gustav? What do you see from your customers?
Well, I can start with maybe take an example of our internal customers, our own factories, which sometimes are the toughest ones to convince to take on new technology. They, as all other customers that we have, are quite traditional and also looking into what has worked so far. But what we have seen now when we have introduced this technology in our own processes, they are amazed just from having a much more clean environment to start with. So by having an ultra clean oil in the machine, we also see that the environment around the machine, where the workers are all the time, we get a much cleaner environment, which is a customer experience that we maybe didn't anticipate to start with. We were focused on having ultra clean oil in the machine, but that's a bonus that became quite important, and it relates also to safety. Another thing that come up also is, of course, that safety in general improves a lot when you don't have to interact or interfere with the process so much, just because you avoid, then in this case, oil changes. You don't have to do certain maintenance and repair actions, and that makes the environment more safe for the worker as well. Another thing that is clear is, as I think Carl now just mentioned, is that sustainability as such is now enough to motivate this kind of investment or this kind of change in how they apply new technologies, which we haven't seen before. Of course, the business case is important also for our customers to move on with this type of technology. But since sustainability is so high up on the agenda, that is a motivator in itself to just do the investment, which is very good to see. And adding to that, it's clear now, which I mentioned in my presentation, is that the entry barrier by changing the business model is then going down. Basically, we're offering it as a service instead of in an investment. That is clearly a positive thing for the customers, because otherwise they have to go through quite cumbersome investment processes, and now they can basically then refer this to the operational expenses that they have, and that makes the process much faster and much easier to implement new technology in the factories and at our customers.
Great. So not only they are embracing it, but they see also positive side effects like the safety that you mentioned and so on. Thank you, Gustav, for that. And the last question on this panel is, I go back to Anna. What were the immediate and or longer term benefits, financial, customer experience, others, that you have experienced because of the introduction of circular economy practices? Can you mention one or two?
Of course, if we start from a bit more holistic perspective, of course, this is introducing the circularity models in our business provides long-term resilience for the business. even if we look at it from a broader perspective, acting in an environmentally friendly way, doing your business in an environmentally respectful way, it will also secure the future of our planet, as we said, because we are all going to be impacted. So, but coming, more into the detail, of course, for us, things like recycling, introducing innovations in the way we produce our garments and our products, contribute specifically into two main aspects. Of course, first of all, we keep the resources in a closed loop. Nothing goes to waste. Nothing goes out of the value chain of in the lifespan of a product. And basically, instead of creating waste, we actually regenerate and we reuse something that is again being created into a material and then a new garment. So basically, in that way, we limit the need for sourcing virgin resources coming from the nature. Of course, we invest less in that, and we invest more in the innovations and the technologies in order to work with those. And of course, this is much bigger benefit for the business. This also creates other economic opportunities. But what I can say is that still, especially the recycling and bringing innovations related to these kind of new technologies, searching for new type of materials, is also very expensive act. But that's why we are working into finding new solutions. As I said, taking on board other partners, because then the benefit could be for the whole industry, and then different players also can take the benefit. And that's why for us is, important that we look ahead. We make, of course, our short-term actions, but it's important for us that we make decisions that actually can impact us positively in the long run, and also looking at from the perspective of the whole industry.
Thank you, Anna. Very comprehensive answer. What about you, Carl? What about the benefits that you've seen?
And I have two very different examples. One concrete, when we use recycled plastic, and we use quite a lot. We have come some way to introduce that. So we have replaced a lot of virgin plastics already, and we increase that share every year. But so far, the biggest driver, apart from sustainability, has been cost efficiency. So we have been able to find recycled materials that are as performing, but cheaper than other materials. And that's actually thanks to us having a little bit different setup than most of our competitors. We have the in-house competence for plastic compounding stuff. So we can take more complex materials, so to say, or more different materials like recycled, and get the benefit from that. So that is very positive. Now, recycling market is changing because the demand for recycled contents is exploding. So we will see if this works in the future. But anyway, so far it's been a good business. The other point, I think, is to a different one, but it's internal benefit. And that is how this resonates internally with my colleagues. And the support is immense. We see that, well, obviously, of course, with the younger colleagues, everyone is on board and wants to do as much as possible. So it drives a lot of innovation, a lot of commitment. And I see we have some projects now I described our three business areas. And for each of them, we have kind of a long-term vision process right now. And all of them are very comprehensive on sustainability targets and goals and so on. And that, I think, is so focusing on sustainability drives a lot of fantastic thinking in the company.
Very interesting. That's a very interesting angle. Thank you for sharing with us, Carl. And Gustav, what about you?
Well, of course, the most obvious benefits coming out from this are the ones that I explained. I mean, the sustainability is of course in the core, but also the direct and indirect effects coming from that. But maybe to mention the indirect effects, because we did not anticipate with this new technology how far we can take it in terms of improvements in being by improving performance in our processes and our products. We see now that our products, our bearing products, by implementing this in our own factories, become a lot more, a lot better. So that creates an advantage for us, a competitive advantage. By doing something good, by doing something sustainable, by having an ultra clean oil all the time, we see that we get an advantage in competitive advantages in our bearing products and in the quality of our bearings. And the other thing we were a little bit surprised about was also that this is not something that we do in this isolation. We're looking at the full process, full production process in our factories, and it gave other effects along the line, so to speak, when we can have one system that has a very clean oil. That suddenly meant that the oil was not transported with the piece that were polished or something in our process to the next step. That meant that we, for example, could skip a lot of washing steps, wash off the oil, because the oil was not there. It was so clean, so it actually didn't go with to the next process. And if you can get rid of washing steps in a process, you suddenly get rid of a lot of water, and again, a sustainability effect that we didn't count on. So I think by fixing one step in the long process, you will see ripple effects that can be tremendous and become really big in the end.
Great. So basically, we have, it seems we have something that you do an intervention to improve, to introduce the circular business model, but you get a lot of things back that you haven't even thought in the beginning, which is really, really good. Thank you. Thank you very much, all three of you. It was really nice having you with us. Hopefully the next time you're present here, and we're going to the next coffee break. Thank you.
Thank you.